Hello. We're going to take notes on section 10.2c. Always factor the GCF first. So we're going to be factoring trinomials. One way that we can factor trinomials is using something called the Kim trick. The Kim trick can only be used if you have a trinomial. Another method that you can use in factoring trinomials is called the guess and check method. If you don't like the Kim trick, then you can listen to the other video and they can show you how to use the guess and check method. Let's go ahead and look at our first example. 18x to the fourth minus 21x to the third minus 15x squared. So the first thing you always want to check before you even start the Kim trick is to see if you can factor out a GCF. So looking at our trinomial here, we do have a GCF of 3x squared. So when you factor out that GCF, that leaves you with 6x squared minus 7x minus 5. So when we apply the Kim trick to this trinomial, we're going to ignore the GCF and we'll bring it back at the very end. So taking your leading coefficient, you're going to multiply it by the last term. So what we have when we do that is x squared minus 7x minus 30. So we don't have to put the 6 here anymore because the 6 is within the last term. Our second step in the Kim trick is looking for these combinations. So something times something gives you your last term, and the same two numbers, when I add together, I get the middle term. And so looking at these combinations, we can write down the combinations for 30. That's kind of sometimes where I start. And then looking at any of these combinations when I add or subtract together to get the negative 7. So then that would give me 3 and 10 and 3 and 10. One of these has to be negative the 3 or the 10 to get a negative 30 when you multiply and a negative 7 when you add. And so the 10 has to be negative in this example. So our combination would be x plus 3 times x minus 10. Now, looking at this, now we're going to bring back the leading coefficient. So what we're going to do with that is we're going to divide each of the numbers that I found in my multiplication and addition. We're going to divide each one of those by the leading coefficient. And I'm going to reduce each one of these fractions. So 3/6 reduces to 1/2, and 10/6 reduces to 5/3. Now, if the fraction reduces, and it's still a fraction after you do that, you're going to take your denominator and you're going to put it in front of the variable in the same parentheses. So this would be 2x plus 1. And then the denominator is still there also, so you put it in front of the variable in the same parentheses, so that would be 3x minus 5. And then we're going to bring down our GCF that we originally factored out, and these are our factors for that trinomial. Of course, we can always check to make sure that it's true. I can FOIL this part. So that would give me, that would give me 6x squared minus 10x plus 3x minus 5. So that would give me 6x squared minus 7x minus 5. And then I could distribute the 3x squared back into that trinomial there. I could even check right there to make sure that that is the same as that. But to get back to the original, I would distribute. So 18x to the fourth minus 21x cubed minus 15x squared, which is the original trinomial. So I know that my factors are true. So that's my first example using the Kim trick and factoring out a GCF first. Let's take a look at the other example we have. Example number 2. We have 16x cubed plus 28x squared y minus 30xy squared. Again, looking to see if you can factor out a GCF first before you start the Kim trick. So in this example, we can factor out a 2x. And what we have left when we do that is 8x squared plus 14xy minus 15y squared. So now let's take a look at this trinomial and use the Kim trick to find the factors. So I would take the leading coefficient, multiply it by the last term, so that would give me x squared plus 14xy minus 120y squared. So after I do that, my next step is to find the combinations of something times something gives me negative 120, and the same two numbers, when I add together, I get positive 14. Now the Kim trick does get a little bit more difficult when you have bigger numbers, but just like we did before, you can write out the combinations for 120 to see what combinations make when you add or subtract to get 14. So in this example, this would be 6 and 20. 6 and 20. Now, I'm trying to get a negative, so one of these has to be negative when I add them together and I get a positive. So the 6 is going to be negative this time. Negative 6 times positive 20 is 120. Negative 6 plus 20 gives me a positive 14. So that's the correct combination. So that would leave me with x, because I have x squared here, minus 6. Now this time we need to bring down the y because of the y squared right here. Multiply it by x plus 20y. Now the last part of the Kim trick is taking our leading coefficient and dividing each one of these numbers by that leading coefficient, and then reduce it. So this would give me x minus reducing that would give me 3/4 y. Reducing 20 over 8, I would get 5/2 y. So to complete the Kim trick, since I have a number left in the denominator, I move it in front. So that would give me 4x minus 3y. Same thing here, I put that 2 right in front. 2x plus 5y. And then don't forget to bring down your original factor that you factored out in the very beginning. And these are your factors. Again, you can check it to make sure, but you can do that part on your own.